Welcome to another episode of Owning Your Personal Brand. Today, I'm really excited. We're going to talk about knowing yourself and knowing your strengths, which, in my opinion, is a huge aspect of building your brand and getting prepared to build your brand. And today, we have a wonderful guest with us, Miss Roslyn Bethea, and I'm going to ask her to just give a quick introduction of herself, her background, and what she's doing, and then we'll get started. Hey, Roslyn.
Hello, Amy. Thank you for having me. Well, let's start. My name is Roslyn Bethea, and I am the Director of Online Instructional Design at Pitt Community College. I have 15 years of experience in continuing education in the workforce sector. So we're busy down at Pitt building courses and making it happen for the community.
Good, good. Well, thank you again for being here. And I'm really excited to talk to you just about strengths. You work with people of all different types and ages and what you do. People looking to get additional education, looking to up their skills. And one of the things that I wanted to start with and ask you about is why don't you think people spend more time on self reflection and really assessing themselves and what those skills are and what their strengths are? Why do you think that people don't spend more time doing that?
Well, self reflection is about self awareness.
Mm,
Real self reflection is sometimes difficult for individuals
mm,
to accept the outcome of the self reflection,
mm.
meaning you have strengths and you have weaknesses. And if I know my weaknesses, and sometimes people feel like their weaknesses make them a bad
Mm.
person or um, may not be what they think they should be. But there's always room for improvement in all aspects of our lives. We just need to have the encouragement to continue to grow our strength and weaknesses and build our weaknesses to match our values and the examples we would like to set for others.
No, that's really good. And I think the value is so important because, like you said, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Like, there's nobody that's perfect. And the more you take time on that self awareness and the more you can really identify where you're different, where you're special, what your strengths are, to me, the better off you'll be. And the farther along you'll be in being able to develop that brand. And that brand is what's going to help you, whether you're a business owner, whether you're student or you're a career professional. And so I appreciate that and just encourage people. We'll try to give people encouragement today to
Yeah,
make sure that they take
absolutely.
to make sure they take time. The next thing I want to talk to you about, something that goes along with that, is confidence. And in the time that I've known you, you are a very confident person. And I wanted to ask two questions about that. One is, how did you become that, or where do you think that comes from? And the second part of the question is, how can you help people who might not naturally feel confident about themselves? What kind of advice would you give them to get there?
So confidence, I feel like, is built within yourself, believing in yourself. I haven't always been confident. But what I have done was I surrounded myself with people that had the same similar values and morals as I do, interested in the same things that I'm interested in. And also, I think that education is a critical component of being confident in who you are. Because as we know, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you grow. And the more you grow, I think that builds your confidence as a person.
No, I think that's good. I think something important to point out too, education is extremely important, like you said, but it doesn't have to always be traditional or formal education. We are lucky to live in a time where there's so much information online. There are things like this where you can listen to speakers, you can go to events. So the traditional going and taking a class is one aspect of it, but there are so many other ways that you can educate yourself. So I like that a lot. And you said you haven't always been that confident. What do you think changed for you, or what helped you gain more confidence as a person?
Um, I think gaining more knowledge on different things, not just education, but just life itself.
Mhm.
Having those mentors and those people that I can go to for different things. We had a discussion before and we talked about having different mentors in
Mm.
different areas of your life. So I think when you put all of those together, all of those mentors play a role in your success and your confidence. And as long as you have those positive people, I think that your confidence will continue to grow.
Hmm. No, that's good. Now, let's talk a little bit about workforce development. That's another area that you spend a lot of time focused on, particularly for underserved communities. So, people who might not have the right education or the right skill set yet to get the
Mhm.
jobs that they should go. Talk a little bit about that work, but also talk about the education, the confidence, the self awareness that they need to build themselves up to do a job that maybe they initially didn't think they could do.
So it's really important to get new training skills and certification that makes you a valuable candidate for jobs and upskilling. But I think one of the most important things for our underserved population is understanding the needs of that population.
Mm.
There are so many resources that this population need. For example, when you're talking about education, traveling to campus, they don't have transportation. They need babysitters. Some are homeless. Some need food. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of resources that we need to bring to the table and collaborate with our community partners to make that happen. And once you fix the lack of
Mm.
for our underserved population, that's gonna actually help grow their confidence because I think that you lose self-confidence when you're liking certain things, and those things are huge because
Mm.
those things are everyday livelihood success type things. So um, I think that once we work together in workforce development and get that done, we can strengthen and improve in the area by all community partners collaborating together to meet their needs and decrease the barriers that they have.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, decreasing barriers.
I think that's good because, my focus is really around personal branding. And sometimes people can think, well, that doesn't apply to me. That's for somebody else, or that's for somebody who maybe has more experience than me. But it's really about everybody. And my big belief is everybody has a brand. And I think it's at least equally important, if not more important, for someone who doesn't have a long track record of a certain type of job, or, let's say they're coming out of the prison system or they're coming out of rehab. I think it's even more important what you talked about, helping them decrease the barriers, but also helping them build that confidence because they've got to go out there and project a certain brand to the world to help people overlook maybe something that's in their past that might not be as attractive. And so I like that a lot. And I'm a fan of what you're doing on the workforce development side, and
Thank
hoping
you.
that we can help as well, because like you also said, leveling the playing field is so important. Everybody deserves at least to be prepared for opportunities that might come their way. So I definitely appreciate that. Now, what advice would you give to somebody who, back to the education piece, maybe somebody who feels like they need something, they need new skills, how do they get started, right? Like they might not even know where to get started with building up their strengths and building up their skills. What advice would you give to them?
What I would say is that from the education side of it, if you are interested in building your brand or building yourself because you are your brand,
Mhm.
reach out to someone at any community college and talk with an advisor, a career coach, just to see what's available for you and the direction that you need to go. We want you to have a career pathway. We don't want people to come in and just take courses and get certifications. We want you to get jobs when you
Mhm.
complete these courses. But we want to also make sure that it's the right fit for you.
Mhm.
So don't go in and just accept anything because it's available. Make sure that is what you want and your desires, so that in the end you'll be happy with the decision that you've made and you haven't wasted time doing something that you really don't want to do.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. And I think research is also good in that because, again, back to just so much information online is available. But
Right.
a lot of times people, yeah, they might not know exactly what they want to do. So you don't want them just take this course, take that course. You want them to have a bit more structure and, like you said, an actual career path. So I think that's really great. One thing I want to have you elaborate on too is just kind of the power of the community college system that we have here in North Carolina, just as far as what people have access to when they take advantage of what's there. I think a lot of us don't know just how many colleges there are, but also what opportunities are available. Can you just expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. We have 58 community colleges in North Carolina. And all of those colleges provide awesome resources, course offerings. We have courses for on the curriculum side for individuals who want a degree, but we also have courses on the continuing education side, which focuses on workforce development. We have short-term trainings, we have long-term trainings, and a lot of the career training courses on the Con Ed side of the house, they also provide you with a credential within a year. We have a lot of people who want to come in the community and don't know that you can come in and take a 6 month or a year course, receive a credential, and start working immediately versus doing going through our 2 year program. And there's nothing wrong with going through the 2 year program. It's what's best for you. But I know these days and times, the demand is more high for short-term training and let me get to work because I need to make money now.
Yeah. Good. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that back to kind of building your strengths, it's just important for people to have information on what's available to help, but it does take some initiative. It takes being self-aware. It takes at least reaching out, like you said, to people for help. So if you don't know where to start, try to find some resources that are definitely available to help you as you think about your career path, you think about certain training that you might want. And so, Rosalind, as we close, how can people connect with you, and what kinds of things are you interested in having people connect with you about?
So I am an all-around person. I'm a network person. I network a lot. I love networking. Workforce development is my passion. Um, Pretty much anything that relates to education or workforce development consulting, please feel free to reach out to me at roslynbethea@yahoo.com. And if you just have any questions regarding anything that we've discussed today, or you want to talk about how I got where I am today, like I said, I've been in the community college 15 years, and believe it or not, I started out as a work study student.
Mm,
So I built my brand from the bottom. So I'll be more than happy to speak with anyone who wants to speak to me about our conversation today.
good. Well, on that note, what what prompted you, or what encouraged you to start to build from there, so that you have this long history of working in the college system?
Well, honestly, it's wanting to do better for myself.
Mm,
You know, it's so interesting because I have the story of most of the Con Ed students, single parent raising a child. And I felt like I've got to do something. I've got to build my brand in
mm,
order to leave a legacy for my daughter. And so that was what really started it. But then when I got into the community college sector, working in continuing education, my passion became the underserved population because they needed so much more than other individuals. And at one time, I was that underserved
mm.
individual.
Got it. No, that's awesome. So I appreciate you being here and sharing your story, and also just sharing some advice and insights. And before we go, as I always
Mhm.
try to end with, every single one of us has a personal brand. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, every one of us has one. And it's really up to us to own it. And what we've talked about here today are really just knowing yourself and building up your strengths, but you have to be a little bit self-aware to start that. And you can get help. You can get help from people for just advice. You can reach out to Roslyn. You can reach out to me, but you can also start to think about a career path for yourself, whether that's getting some certifications or actual a 2-year program, for example. And so it's just important to really get to know yourself, understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and figure out how you can build upon that for your brand. Thank you so much for listening and being here with us this week. Thank you again to Roslyn for sharing. And hopefully, you will join us next week and we'll have another guest talking about owning your personal brand.